Watch this. One subtle wrist adjustment on your side spin serve lets you switch between a dead short no spin and heavy side backspin your opponent can't read. Next, I'm going to teach you the side spin serve, an essential part of any standard serving routine. The key question is, how do you control it so you can serve no spin short or heavy side spin backspin at will? There are specific techniques. The first important point is the grip, same grip as for the no spin serve.
这个就是有一些技巧，孙健可以在课里面跟大家分享啊。那么侧旋很重要的第一个点就是我们握拍，刚刚转不转是同样的握拍，对吧？
Today we're working on the no spin and side spin serve. Notice that for the no spin serve, the wrist is held level flat. Now simply relax the wrist completely, no tension, and the racket head drops, pointing down toward the ground. That means your wrist is open. That's point one. Point two, side spin. Don't worry about side topspin or side backspin yet. First, brush the ball fully to the left side. We'll add variations later. For effective brushing, start with your stance, angle your body toward the right front. This lets you transfer weight forward and rotate. You need that space to turn your waist. Left foot anchored at the table corner.
这样是有利于我们抛完球重心去往前转，这样有一个幅度，对吧？你不能说这样平着站，你就没有空间去转腰了。所以说站位还是很有必要的，左腿卡在这个桌角，啊。
You need weight transfer. When tossing, slightly open the chest. This is crucial. Whether it's no spin or side spin serves, always open the chest. Don't confuse this with the forehand loop, where the forearm extends outward because the racket angle is closed. On serves, the forearm cannot extend that way. This spacing is very important. The space between your arm and body is too small. There's not enough distance to generate an arc or produce rotation. So essentially ignore the forearm. The key points for side spin. First, brush from top to bottom to create the side spin. Second, as you open up, the wrist extends and lifts upward simultaneously. You pull the wrist back so you can snap it down toward your stomach or chest in one instant.
那么第二点，咱们在摆开的时候，你可以发现手腕，你们可以看见我是同时展开，同时往上拉开的手腕。那么拉开就是为了我能够瞬间的砍肚子或者说砍胸，看见没？那么第三点是什么？我们的胸
Our chest must open up. Watch, even if my forearm doesn't move when I open my chest, there's this much distance created. Combined with a slight forward waist rotation and compression, that's completely sufficient. So that's the technique involving the wrist and chest working together. Correct form for a standard side spin serve.
那么还有一个点是什么呢？你们要注意拉胸之前是什么？你的肘不要太平，看见没？不要太夹，不要这样，这样也是不利于，就你拉胸也很别扭，你看拉胸就成这样了。所以说我们肘适当的把肘架起来，大家可以看到很明显，我把肘架起来以后，我再拉胸，这是一个很标准的侧旋球。对，这个时候
Once we've solved the elbow position, it becomes very simple. Now we add a training method for the chopping motion. Let's talk about side topspin first. Many players think you need to brush the bottom of the ball for side topspin, that it'll generate more spin. But watch this result. It's unstable, and 60 to 70% of the time the ball won't land on the table. This is a critical misconception. For side topspin, we still brush from top to bottom, then lift the ball upward. This produces very stable, short side topspin serves. 你看我从上往下再去提拉，这个球是非常稳定的侧上旋。 If you casually let the side topspin go long, your opponent simply attacks down the line. You won't even have time to recover. So the first goal of side topspin is keeping it short. All topspin serves, hook serves, no spin, side topspin, are harder to keep short than backspin
所有的
serves.
上旋球能
Why?
够勾手转
Because
转
side
侧上
topspin
所有的上
naturally
旋球的话
travels
转变的难
forward,
度都要
making it easy to go
侧下
long.
侧上都要比
So
侧
rule
下
number
带球
one,
难度要
to
高。为什
avoid
么呢？因为
going long,
侧上旋
never
它是往
use
前走
that
的，一
scooping,
往前走就是出
lifting
台。
from
所以
underneath
说我们
motion for
手
side
一定要避
topspin,
免出台，
unless you're already
千
very
万不要学习
advanced.
这种往上撩兜底式的发侧上啊，除非你已经很高阶，你很有水平啊，然后对手
We
跟你
always
差距
train
非
with
常大，
match
你可以这么
conditions in
尝试
mind.
一下。
So
但
raise
是
your
凡是
hand
遇
high
到
and
这种
brush
我们还得一
downward,
定要结
colliding
合
into the ball
关键就是
sideways.
把这
This
种
is
训
actually
练
side
模拟
topspin,
为你随
because
时
I'm
要
not
参加比
brushing
赛
the
的这个
bottom
实
or
战中。
lower middle of
所以
the
说我们
ball.
先把手
We
抬高
brush the middle of the
去
ball with a
不是
leftward
往下
friction.
去
The ball
撞
jumps
击这个球
forward,
往
that's
侧走，
side
它就其实
topspin.
因为我没
And
有往
importantly,
我没有摩擦
even
球
with
的底
minimal
部，对吧？
spin,
没
this
有摩擦球的
technique
中下部，我
guarantees
会
the
摩擦
ball
球的
stays
中部
short.
去进行一个左侧的摩擦，那么这个球就是一个侧上旋，是吧？它是往前跳的，看到没有？所以说，而且是什么？这个侧上旋是在最不转的情况下，它能够保证是短的，
This is
这是非
crucial.
常重要的。
Now back to the earlier problem, if you push forward with extra movement, the ball easily goes long. Combine this with our chopping drill. I chop toward my chest. This means my force goes sideways from outside to inside. The ball travels sideways first, then forward, not straight forward. It's not being pushed out. The side spin creates a leftward rotation that counteracts the forward momentum. Now, when you practice your side spin serve,
它不会说被你推出去，看没？它是侧旋，它是往侧再往前走，它有一个左侧的旋转去抵消它往前的力量。那么这个时候话又说回来，很多时候你们在发侧旋球的时候，
there's a
有一种什
common
么状
visual
况？
illusion when
从里
watching
往外
world-class
直接从
players
视觉
like
上
Ma
讲，
Long
很多
or
人来
Fan
看这种
Zhendong.
世
You
界
think
顶
their
级的
motion
像马龙
goes
范
from
德，你们
inside
从
to
视觉上
outside.
有个视觉错觉，
Actually,
就是
it's the
你
opposite
们
from
觉得他们是
outside to inside.
你们觉
Once
得
you
他们
get
的
this
动作是
direction
转
right,
移往
two
外，
things
对
happen.
吧？
First,
其实
your
是什么？
side spin becomes
被动
much
下
heavier
上
because
的
the inward
是
force keeps the
从
ball
外
short.
再往里。
Second, if you push
所以说
forward
这个
even
是方
gently,
向你
the
搞
ball
对了以
easily
后，
goes
解决了以
long.
后，
So
你的
remember,
侧旋第一个能
never
够
go
扯得
inside
很
to
转，为什么呢？
outside, never go
我
back
往
to
里
front.
发力啊，这个
It's
球不
that
容易出
simple.
台，对吧？第二个，你如果往前发力，你再轻，你看你再轻，它都容易出台。这个就是什么？方向大家一定要调回来，不要从里往外，哎，不要从后往前，很简单。刚最开
Remember
始教
when
大
I
家是
first taught side spin,
我
you
往外
extend
拉开，
outward,
对吧？
open
往
the
外拉开
chest.
胸，对吧？那么
Then
你
your
往外
only
唯一的改
option
变
is
就
to
是往里
swing
才能发
inward
力
to
这
generate
个就是
force.
侧旋
That is the
标准的
standard
一个
trajectory
运
for
行体
side
系。
spin.
你看，我从外，你如果解决了侧上旋，你再跳
Now
到回
jumping
侧
to
下旋
side
就非常
backspin
简单，
becomes very
因为我们
simple
围绕的是
because
出
we've
台
built
侧方
everything around
那么
keeping
侧下旋
side
你只需要
topspin
做什么？
short. For side
侧旋
backspin,
的
you
摆
just
动打开
open the
我在
racket
摩擦
angle
球的瞬间，
slightly.
侧上旋呢
With
是
side
从上往
topspin,
下
you brush from
这
top
样
going sideways, no
直线往
downward
从上
friction,
往
just a
侧下
leftward
去打
path.
这个球，是吧？
For side
不做
backspin,
摩
you
擦，
go
只
from
是
top
做
to
一个往
bottom.
左侧
Adjust the
发的一
racket
个
face
回
slightly
旋。那么
flatter
侧下旋
and
同时要什么
contact the
呢？
lower left
从
portion of
上
the ball.
往下，
Then
然后
chop
平
downward
行
at
做
an
一个微
angle,
调，稍
driving
微
your
的斜
center
一
of
点。
gravity
然后
down
摩
as you
擦球
cut.
的哪个位置？摩擦球的中下左边的中左的一个靠下的一个部位，然后往侧下方砍，往重心往下砍下去，啊。
Here's the key for
这个就非常
maximum
简单。
spin on side spin serves. Remember, the more spin you
摩擦球
want,
的瞬间，
the more
侧
you
旋
use
球
the upper left
大家要
quarter
记
edge of
住
your
发
racket
得越
face.
转的球越
From the
靠近
front
什么？
view, aim to
从这个
brush
角
with
度看
that corner of the
你
racket
的
against the
正
lower
面
middle
打
of the
你自己
ball.
面对面
This
这样看，
produces
拍子的
extremely heavy
左侧
spin.
上方的
Once you've
四分之
mastered the
一边
force
角的，尽
mechanics,
量朝着这个
chase
边角去摩
rotation
擦
by
这个球。
consistently
摩擦
contacting
球
the
的中
ball's
下部，这
lower
个球
middle with
非
that
常
upper
非常
left
准
quarter
啊！
edge.
如果说你追求旋转
During
的话，我们
training,
掌握了
you'll
这个
inevitably hit the
发力的
racket
原理以
edge.
后，我们
That's
再做选
normal
择
when pursuing
摩擦球的
maximum
中下
spin.
部，哎，中下部，然后拍子的左上方的四分之一角这里。这个时候你就发现这个球扯得非常转，但是训练的过程中难免会产生板边，因为
Once
你在
you've
追求
practiced
这种
enough, you'll
平
find
视的
that
这个过程
contact
中，这
point
很正常，反正这
consistently.
个无所谓。
In
那么
matches,
练熟了
just
之后，
move
现
the
在大家能够
contact slightly
80%、
thicker
90%
for
能掌握到
safety.
这个点。
That's
那
a
如果说
perfectly
你实战
standard
的时候
side
再薄点
backspin
点，再
serve.
挪回来这个点，不发那么薄，就是一个非常正确、非常常规的一个侧下旋标准。
The side backspin is very obvious. When it reaches the opponent's side, it has a strong downward drop, a heavy sinking
这个时候
feeling.
侧下就很
Same
明显。
principles apply.
过
We don't scoop
过到对面
underneath,
以
we
后呢，
don't
它会
brush touch the pure bottom of the ball. The contact point is the same, wait for the ball to drop to approximately net height, then execute your chop toward the chest. That's all you need. Aim for roughly net height. It doesn't have to be exact, slightly higher or lower is fine. But you can't train without any target, without any reference point. Use net height as your guide, then make a clean, standard release.
大家盯准啊，大概跟网子一样，不能说完全啊，你可以偏一点点，偏高偏低都可以，但你不能说很过分的这种，完全没有一个小目标，完全没有一个方向的去训练。我们就是大概跟网子一样高的时候，再做一个标准的出手。看。
Wait for net height, then contract. You must be fully relaxed so that in one instant you can fully tighten, the ball is completely controlled in your hand. Don't be stiff during the toss or backswing. Your left leg acts as a pivot point. Let inertia carry your backswing naturally. Don't actively force the backswing. Inertia, rhythm, and your side backspin is mastered. So to summarize both side topspin and side backspin, don't create spin just for spin's sake. First priority is keeping the ball short. The key details, brushing from top to the left, from outside to inside, these all prevent the ball from going long. Practice both variations repeatedly.
要把控短，控短就是咱们常规的，从上往左，上方往左方发力，从上往左，从外往里，这些都是避免出台的一个重要的一些细节，所以也希望大家能够反复的观看，反复的练习。